This meeting will come to order. Madam Recorder, roll call, please.
Alderwoman Key. Here. Alderwoman Madison. Vice Mayor Adams. Alderwoman Moretz. Here. Alderwoman Venable. Here.
Thank you, Madam Recorder. At this time, fellow citizens, if you will please stand with me. We'll be led in prayer today by Pastor Lou Kaiser of the Bluff City United Methodist Church.
Let us pray. God, thank you for this night you've given us. We thank you for our city. We thank you, Lord, that you give us grace and peace. And we pray, Lord, that you would bless every single one of us as we listen and as we think about how we can be better citizens. We thank you for those that are serving, and we pray, God, for their protection. We pray, God, for their spirit. And we ask, Jesus, that you would always show us how to be the best that we can be and give us grace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Kaiser. Go ahead, Vice Mayor, and we'll wait, if you don't mind, until you get to the podium before we move on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure this evening to have these two young ladies from Sullivan East High School, accompanied by Principal Andy Hare. And they'll be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. And I'm going to try to pronounce your names if I can. Okay? And first we have Elizabeth Buchanan. Please raise your hand, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. And then Kylie Collins. Thank you very much, Kylie. So, ladies, if you would, approach the podium. Board members, if you would, go ahead and turn about, and they'll lead us in the pledge.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, ladies. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to recognize distinguished visitors and or elected officials in attendance. It's an honor this evening to receive Deputy Speaker Senator John Lundberg, my friend, who is in the audience today. Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for attending and seeing our meeting today. And next favorite thing to do here, actually one of my favorites, is a certificate presentation. This meeting is in recess. Josh, would you approach the podium, please? Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to do this, and let me give you some background. This is Josh Church, and he is the proprietor of South Fork Coffee. Recently voted the best in the Tri-Cities, right here in our town. Josh, we can't tell you enough how much we thank you for your business. By the way, Josh's business is a nonprofit. So when customers come to get coffee and all the wonderful things that Josh serves there, it's actually by donation. There's not a fixed price. And then, of course, Josh's organization donates to the Impact Community Centers, which has a wide berth across Northeast Tennessee. Josh, it is my honor to read this certificate from us. Certificate of Achievement presented to South Fork Coffee for being the best coffee house in the Tri-Cities. On behalf of the Board, Mayor, and Alderman, our citizens, and myself, thank you. It's an honor to present you this.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No major speeches.
No speeches?
Thank you.
You're a good man, Josh.
This meeting is now back in session. First item on the agenda is discussion and actions. Previous meeting minutes from October 5th or October 4th and October 25th. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, have you had the opportunity to review these minutes?
Yes, sir.
In doing such, are there any additions, corrections, or other modifications to these minutes that you would like to add?
I'll raise a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes by Vice Mayor Adams.
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Moretz. Is there any further discussion? Madam Recorder, take a vote, please.
Alderwoman Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Adams,
Yes.
Alderwoman Moretz,
Yes.
Alderwoman Venable. Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please, and you desire to speak, please approach your podium and state your name and address for the record. Ms. Clark, you are recognized.
Shirley Clark, 932 Lona Lane. I just wanted to follow up with the mayor to see how the discussion went with the engineers regarding the speed bumps on Holston.
I have a very good report for you. Actually, Mr. Carter and I were going to meet yesterday, but unfortunately it was postponed to today. I met with him at 3 p.m., not only in my office, but we actually left here in my personal vehicle and traveled the route that we're speaking about. He will be going back to his office with that information we had on the ground and during our meeting, and he should be coming back to me within a few days on an assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Would any other citizen or member of the public like to speak? Ms. Payne, you are recognized.
Carolyn Payne, 4818 Bluff City Highway. First, I want to say, when this part comes about, I want to remind the board members, you are on hot mics up there. And I heard what you said about me then at the last meeting. I got up to approach, and you muttered, "Oh, God." Hot mic. That was so. Who else heard it? Mr. Harmon, did you hear it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know how disrespectful that is? Do you? Do you want to apologize?
I'm not going to apologize for something I didn't do.
Well, we got lies going on again tonight, I reckon. So, okay. The second thing I want to discuss is what I brought up last time, and that is the operation of the food truck. Has that been shut down?
Ms. Payne, you have 4 minutes remaining.
Okay. Has it been shut down?
Ms. Payne, we are not required to answer your questions.
All right. Well, now I want to make a statement. It's not been approved, not by planning and zoning, nor by health permits, nor by licensing permits, to my knowledge. We know it's operating down there. I think a few of you go down there and pick up food. So how can it operate illegally? I guess that's a better choice for Chief DePew. Chief DePew, have you shut it down?
I have not. I'm actually unaware of the situation. I knew they were looking at opening up some area for some food trucks. I mean, we've been busy trying to fight drugs. That's another issue. But,
Well, it's true, but, I mean, we have more illegal things going on down here other than that. If they want to try to keep my mind straight here, and I don't have a whole lot of time enjoying it, but I do hope in tonight's meeting, because it's not on the agenda for further discussion and action, to hire a city manager. I guess it'll come up hopefully in old business and or new business. So I look forward to that part of it. So we just have to wait, I guess. I want to thank the board members that voted by majority to move forward with this. because the only way that we can move forward here in Bluff City is to separate our mayor and city manager. That is one job that that is two jobs that one person should never hold. So hopefully we'll get a retired person. Oh, by the way, the only city close to us in size is Mosham, Tennessee. So when you're comparing apples, please compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And Moshim, you can verify that spelling, but anyway, that's the name of it. And when it came to, there was some discussion about our separation from the family community committee, something like that. And when Jean Ann got up and spoke, she said, not asking for any monies, just because all the monies is Everett citizens' monies. And that got a little vague to me, because we do give, like, the food banks and the library, the fire department, rescue squad. We donate to them, but it's called, I believe it's called a cost operating expense or something like that. And then separating on the point about what funds come out of what funds, and the town manager, Ben, I hope you educated yourself on that last time, because you actually thought the police department had their own separate fund down here. We got water and sewer, we got general funds, we got sanitation funds, if I'm correct, right, Sharon? 3 different funds. So on a scale for the town manager, city manager, whatever you are going to call it, it should be appropriated to, I guess, based on how much money we've got into it and everything. So just wanted to bring that up. And to back that up, it was an ordinance, 2021.
Ma'am, you have 20 seconds remaining.
All right, thanks for the countdown. $12,000 went to, let's see, a lawnmower, and it came out of general funds. I got a little question mark on that.
I've got that information, Ms. Payne.
Thank you. So you will discuss that. I'm sorry, we haven't talked. I'm not getting ahead of myself here. So I appreciate that. Thank you all very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. Really appreciate it. Would any other citizen or member of the public like to speak this evening? Mr. Harmon, you are recognized.
Thank you, sir. 200 Ocean Drive, Bluff City. You did say that, sir. And
Says you.
we will go into that. I just want to thank you all for putting that playground down there. That is so nice. You see those little kids playing on that playground down there? That is a great thing. I tried for 5 years to get y'all to listen. You wouldn't listen to me, would they, Miss Keith? But you got it down there. The only thing we need to do is keep the fat people off them swings. They about broke the swings down there. We need to put a sign there and say, if you weigh over 200 pounds, don't get on the swings. Can we do that? That's the only thing I got to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Ms. Broyles, you are recognized.
Rebecca Broyles, 660 Kentucky Avenue. I just wanted to clarify about the family committee. The funding that we were talking about was the fundraising part of the committee. The committee wanted to fundraise to get money to do stuff in the community. We could not do that under the board. Am I correct?
Right.
We cannot fundraise. That is why it was brought to the board, to the family committee's attention to see if they wanted to part. It was a unanimous. I did not vote. I asked them the question, but in the new bylaws, I do not have a vote as the chairperson. Everybody else does. So it was unanimously decided. It was not a one-person thing, but that was what Janann was talking about the funding. And that was the only reason about the money. We now have a charitable application in at the state, so we don't have to have a 501c3 yet, and we will be working in the future to become a more committed committee.
Okay, excuse me, but the thing about it is when you first presented it to us, which I thought it was nice, like a welcome wagon, but when we received a bylaw, it looked like, and it was going to be part of the city, and it looked like you was trying to start a whole new board. That's what it looked like.
No,
According
committee
to-
bylaws,
Right.
when I looked it up, you have to have members in place. You have to have a chair, a vice chair,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. You have to have that.
Right.
It's not that we wanted a whole new board.
Well, it was everything pretty much what we do. You know, if you miss or something, or you can call a special call. It seemed like you was starting a whole new board connecting to the city.
No.
That was my concern.
We were under the city. We
Right.
were just a separate committee.
Right.
And we had to have that in place, the bylaws in place, before we could even operate as a committee. But I think the family committee wants to move forward and be more than a family committee in the future.
Right.
And we have to start out small.
Right.
But it was not to replace the board. It was under the board, but we had to have the bylaws in place or we couldn't operate. That it?
Thank you, Ms. Broyles. Would any other member of the public or a citizen like to speak? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on then. Next item on the agenda is a report from me, and this will be in two parts. First, I will brief you from here on a couple of small things, and then, Vice Mayor, if you would, I will pass the chair to you, and I will move down to the podium and brief the board. So, just a couple of small notes. Members of the board, spread before you is a status update from Mattern and Craig on Phase 3 water and sewer. Does everyone see that status update?
Yes.
And this is, I received this today from Chairman Randy Beckner, and everything is working great as far as Phase 3. We're running good. Actually, a little bit ahead of schedule. You'll see also, and we've talked about these before, save one thing, and that is the Asset Management TDEC application. And that actually came yesterday. What this does is, if we wish to be eligible to receive TDEC or TDOT grants, these two assessments for water and sewer must be completed so that we are eligible. These will be at no cost to the town. Basically, what we do through the development district is apply for a forgivable loan, if you want to call it that. They basically would be paid the separate figures, $43,820 for a water assessment and $32,710 for a sewer assessment. And as you can see, Randy wrote there at the end, this is a special pot of money that would be 100% principal forgiveness. So it will be at no cost to the town. We need these. Another piece to this is we really need GIS mapping for the water and sewer system here. And in order to be able to move forward with that in granting, through the state or through whatever organization, TDEC, that's going to be a necessary requirement for us to have these assessments. So any questions on Chairman Beckner's comments, or would you like more detailed information on our progress of Phase 3 water and sewer? Excellent. The only two small points I have is just a reminder to the public that our Veterans Day Parade is on tap and scheduled for November 11th at 5 p.m. I've discussed the route before. The lineup will begin on Railroad Street at Bluff City Rescue Squad. Any veteran in this region is invited to attend. From what I'm getting back in RSVPs, it looks like it's going to be a great event. And then, of course, it will end up at the Veterans Memorial at ICC Bluff City, where there'll be a brief ceremony after the parade. Chief Depew has done an excellent job of putting together a traffic management plan. Alan, as well, is ready to support it. This will be at very, very, very minimal cost to the town. So I'm excited about that. And then our Christmas parade is still scheduled for December 10th at 5 p.m., preceding the Blountville Christmas parade. It seems to work out really well. And we're also, Wanda Phillips is our events coordinator, does a wonderful job every year. Looks like that's going to be a great event too. Any questions on those two events? If not, I pass the chair to the Vice Mayor, and I will go down to the podium so that I can properly see and brief the board. Janan will be helping me this evening with slides. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I come to you today to give you a 90-day update on where we are as a business in the town of Bluff City and where our projects lie and some other important information for you. I will not elaborate completely on any slide. I'll just generally brief by exception. And then if you have specific questions, please hold them to the end of the presentation, and I'll open the floor strictly to you for questions. All right, next slide. Purpose of this briefing is obviously to provide the Board of Mayor and Aldermen a 90-day business update brief. Next slide. The agenda, I will discuss overall staff performance, budget and finance, our grants and grant status, 5-year prediction, capital needs, cost savings, the way ahead, and I'll take questions from the board. Next slide, please. Overall staff performance. I'm 92 days in today. And as you can see in green, my assessment of the 22 teammates that I have on this staff is that they are a group of consummate professionals. Absolutely. They're competent. They care. They're excellent multitaskers. They're citizen/customer first in attitude and in action. I should have put that. And they're very resourceful. We're a little town. We wear a lot of hats around here. And everyone here is willing to do more than they're asked every day. And that pollinates across the departments. Greg's department is willing to come in and help Sharon's department and Alan's department, and we work in great synergy together here as staff. I can't say enough about how good they've been in supporting me, but mostly what I can tell you is that the citizens are placed first in everything that they do. Next slide, please. Budget and finance. This is a kudos slide for sure. And namely, our CMFO, Sharon Green, and former Mayor Irene Wells, very commendable performance. A couple of points here. Last audit, no findings, which the board is aware of. It's huge. Huge. If you could come every day and watch Sharon work, you would understand what a difficult task that is. And, this is not corporate finance. This is municipal finance, government finance. So it's like 40 times more complicated. Also, you will see that last bullet, Mayor Wells and CMFO Green built reserves from 2015 to present. Sharon came on board in 2015, and they put together an action plan, and they, without going and borrowing a whole bunch of money, started saving money for us, cutting it back every single year to build our reserves. Expenses went up, and they still were able to be able to put money into our reserves, into our general fund and our water and sewer reserves. So where we're at today in not begging the bank for money is to their credit. Next slide, please. All right, we're going to go into the budget real quick. Overall revenue, sales versus expenses. This is the 22-23 budget, the current budget year that we're in, which we are conditionally approved. As you can see, the revenue is what we expect in revenue, $1,574,920. Our expenses are right next to that number, $1,543,520. So our paycheck is just equaling our bills for the most part, right? You see also I've made a notation of the deficit. Those deficits are just from our grant matches and different things. And you'll also see when the town manager position would be filled, or if 60% of that position's salary will come from the general fund. We don't know what that number is yet. And our current monthly operational expenses are that big old green number at the bottom. That's what it costs to keep the doors open here. $128,626.67 per month. By the way, these figures all have been verified by our CMFO. Next slide. Water and sewer. This is a big one. Big one for us. Overall revenue predicted for 22-23, $963.8, a little under $1 million. But our expenses are over $1 million at $1,407,750. We are currently in a deficit from our reserve fund of $159,050. That was compensated for, remember, by a 4% increase that was passed on in this budget year. So that's in there, right? We're still 159 in deficit. And what that names is the water tank project you're all aware of, we voted in favor of. It is a TDEC requirement every 5 years, so we can't get away from it. We're actually going into year 6 now. And you'll see the grant matches I mentioned before, $200,000. And then the town manager's salary, as I previously mentioned, upon your decision to hire, 40% of that would come out of water and sewer. Next slide, please. Labor cost. We have 22 employees. Our wages, $849.72. Insurance and benefits, which we pay fully here at the town, $914,803 for a total of $1,055,755. This excludes the town manager's salary, which we don't know what it is yet. That's not been decided by the board. We are in a hiring freeze. Our revenue does not support another position at this point. I'm talking about everything but the town manager's job. We do not have funding and revenue to be able to pay for another maintenance worker, a police officer, or someone up front. The annual raises for 2023 and through 2028, can't predict that yet, but at our current revenue stream, you saw how close we are to our expenses. Not sure how that's going to work next budget year. We were able to, this year, and thank you, board, for doing that, we were able to give a very generous raise to all the employees. Next slide, please. Loan status. We're real proud of this one. So as you can see, our town hall is approximately 20 years old. We owe $132,000 on the town hall. We're going to pay an installment this year of $70,000. And that'll leave $62,100 left owed on this town hall. So we're just a little over a year out on owning the building. The RD loan, which we're all familiar with, which is funding Phase 3 water and sewer. There's the whole loan, like when you go to the car dealer or sign a mortgage. That's a 30-year loan. And the balance is $2,913,857. Every year we pay an installment on principal and interest, which you see the principal is $50,000 and the interest is $67,500. We have 4 really small loans that began back in 1994, actually, and they were on terms. As you can see, we owe about $75.5 on these multiple 4 loans that were borrowed from 1994 through about, what was it, Sharon, about 2010 or something like that. And this year, we'll pay $43,050 against those loans. Another kudo, or more kudos, to Sharon and former Mayor Wells for not borrowing any more money, number one, but for working those loans down over the years. Next slide, please. Grant status. Okay, 2 current grants. Recently, as the board is aware of and did approve, Sullivan County American Rescue Plan grant for $400,000. Our match for that will be $40,000, and that would be taken from your water and sewer reserves. The TDOT multimodal grant, which actually Ms. Clark mentioned part of it, I met with Jason Carter today to talk about that. That grant amount, it's already been approved by the board, $781,900. Our match is going to be $78,200 from the general fund. Next slide, please. Potential grants. Water treatment plant overhaul. We've been discussing this in workshop. We are in receipt of the PER from Mattern and Craig and a cost estimate to go back and renovate our water treatment plant. Mechanically, with telemetry and the whole 9 yards, and the price tag on that's $806,000. We are in process of discussions with First Tennessee Development District and all parties involved to request a grant. We do not know what the grant match will be at this point because we're not to that juncture yet, so I estimated. So an estimated $80,600 potentially could be taken. This is nothing you've approved, it's not a real grant yet, we haven't signed a thing, from the water and sewer reserves. Carter and Main Street Sewer Renovation Project. This is one that Mattern and Craig and I have recently been working on in the last couple of weeks. What this project would do is it would go from about Kentucky Avenue on Carter Street and down Main Street to the west toward Fleming Drive, kind of like where Phase 3 is now. And it would go through and take out all those old terracotta lines and those brick sewers and put in new sewer lines. That project estimate right now, we do have a PER, it's $1.2 million. A couple things to note there. During smoke testing last year, there was over 300 breaches, holes in that sewer system. Guess what? Rainwater's going in there. We're paying to pump rainwater to Bristol. So, also, as you know, those of you who have been around for a long time like I have, some of those lines are 100 years old. They're made out of terracotta, especially on Carter Street and Main Street. One of the things to take in mind, and this is nothing that's come before the board yet, this is not a real grant, this is an idea. Okay? It's an idea. That we would have or would definitely see a potential reduction in our monthly sewer bill to Bristol. Estimated cost on that, just guessing, normally it's about a 10%, so that means that we would potentially have to dip back in to our water and sewer reserves for another $120,000. Last one, TDOT paving grant, that's a brand new one. We were told when I attended the district's conference here a few weeks ago, we were briefed that, and when I attended the TDEC conference a couple of weeks ago, we were briefed that in the ARPA funds, that the state, and the deputy speaker sitting behind me, so I better get this right, that only about $800 to $900 million of the $1.5 billion allocated to the state in ARPA money was earmarked, and that a lot of small municipalities like us, or even bigger ones, did not apply because they couldn't afford the grant matches. They might have been granted $4 million, but were they coming up with the $400,000? Follow me? So anyway, with that, in that conversation, those criteria has opened to look at streets and highways, specifically paving. So I'm working now with First Tennessee Development District and to see if that is a possibility for us. We have 34.5 miles of roads that we're responsible for, notwithstanding, now don't count 19 and 11, that's state roads. But our own roads, 34.5 miles of roads, and a bunch of them need paving. So we're working at this point as to fix the problems that we currently have in town. We are working now with 2 different vendors, paving companies, private, that are approved by TDOT, and to hope that we can have somebody come in. Our Allen's crew does not have the capability to do this work. So we're going to see what it might cost us to go around here and just fix the holes that we have till we can do better. Next slide, please. 5-year revenue prediction. So it's public knowledge that our current property tax rate is a little under $1.18 at $1,178 per $100 in value. We are, in fact, in a median home price decline now. Our median home prices grew some months ago to $265,500. Now we're down in the $190 range, so it's headed south really quick. This is going to be something that we as a board are really going to have to seriously look at. Our tax rate is wonderful because it's probably the lowest in the state. I have not compared it, but it's very low, very, very low. So I would advise the board that workshops be conducted to begin to look at this. As you can see, our expenses and our revenue are getting mighty close. Next thing is water and sewer. As you know, we passed a 4% increase on both sides of water and sewer to compensate for the tank project. But when we did that, we created a new ceiling in estimated expenses. We can't go down, right? So that money is added to our predicted expenses year over year. So that, again, is something we as a board are going to have to work on, and the staff, we're going to have to work on because, again, it's getting tight. It's getting really tight for us. We want to keep our water and sewer rates as low as we possibly can. This is a serious conversation as you see our expenses. Court, police, and public safety, as you know, and the board has approved, we are in the process of implementing Watson RMS, which is the automated citation system. Sergeant Watson back there is in charge of that project. We will probably get through it by spring of 2023, perhaps. It takes a long time. But we will not see any kind of major uptick in revenue from it for a while. Because you think we get on the program, it's going to make it easier to write the citation, and, this and that. Yes, it'll make us more efficient. But honestly, it probably for a long time won't bring us in a whole bunch more revenue on that side. Permitting and fees, no significant change I could report to you. Next slide, please. Overall prediction for the next 5 years. I used the national average and the regional average, and as you can see, our expenses will climb, according to this economy, in the next 5 years, approximately 4.8% per year. So I've demonstrated this number for you. Also, you'll see my note at the bottom that we expect no significant revenue increase in the next 5 years. Next slide, please. Capital needs. This town hall, as I referred to before, is 20 years old. We need a roof. Look right over there. I've had the insurance adjuster come. I've had the building inspector on the roof. We need a roof. That's a project we'll have to close soon. The HVAC system here is also 20 years old. And it's been pieced in parts, and an old fan's been put on a heat pump, and this and that and the other. Something we're going to have to think about in a capital project. Parking lot is starting to break up at the entrances because we have so much traffic here. So seal coating needs to be on our agenda as well. Equipment. In the next year 1 through 5, if you will, police cars wear out, public works trucks wear out, computers wear out, whatever you want to name. So we as a board are going to have to think about, with this tight checkbook that we have, how we're going to do these things without borrowing money or dipping into our reserves. System upgrades. Sharon's a ramrod on that. Our systems are antiquated. We're operating an accounting system that Sharon went to college using. No kidding. And we did allocate some of the ARPA money, as the board knows, this year to upgrade our systems. So we'll be working with that. Our employees need training. And that is my overall assessment in 92 days. They need training, and they want training opportunities. They want to go get their CDL. They want to go get their water treatment plant operator's license. Greg's officers want to go and get training, and they deserve training. So we need to think about funding for that. And then finally on that slide, an annex. We've outgrown this building, just about. If we increase our staff significantly here, we're not going to have room for it. So we need to start thinking as a board on a 5-year plan on purchasing property at some point in time for a town annex. Next slide, please. All right, cost savings. I'm all about this, and so is Sharon, and so are the department heads. We've had some recent small victories. We've realigned some vendor and supplier relationships that make better sense to buy things direct for the town, opposed to second or third tier. We've went through, Sharon and I and Alan and Greg, the entire staff have looked at all of our contracts and renegotiated where we can on term or price or whatever we can do to trim a little fat here and there. And we're doing really good at it, and it's ongoing. And then finally, the mayor serving in the town manager capacity is a cost savings. Potential. Next big thing on our agenda is fuel consumption. We use a lot of gas around here. And the department heads and I, including Sharon, will be digging into realigning fuel cards, making sure that they don't go with people and migrate from truck to truck, so we can track the status of BC1 or BC7 or one of Greg's patrol cars, so that we can find out which vehicle is going the miles. And then go in there and figure out where we can pair people up. Or instead of taking 4 trucks to the job, how about just 2? So we're getting ready to do that now. And then obviously the potential cost savings, water treatment plant upgrades. If we can make water for less and more efficiently, it's a double cost savings. Well, it's actually, in Black Belt Six Sigma terms, it is a cost savings and a cost avoidance at the same time. And then the sewer renovation project, current and future. Alan and his crew are out trying to find stuff all day long, every day. If they find a breach, they're going to fix it within our budget. But if we do get to a place, and the board approves, where that we can actually do a PER, a serious one, vote on it, and have sewer lines renovated following Phase 3, which we're in now, which is going great, we probably won't sell as much or pay for as much water when we write a check to the city of Bristol. Next slide, please. The way ahead, and this is my opinion, so I didn't consult on anybody or with anybody for this. The way ahead for us, in my recommendation of being in a leadership role for about 40 years, is total synchronicity of effort between the BMA and the staff. We're going to face some troubled times. We're always going to be a little town. We're not going to be 25,000 tomorrow. We are growing. We are. But if we can work as closely as possibly together, it's going to help. You know, it's just like in this organization, 22 employees, not count me. Everybody has a job. Mine's just different. Next thing, we just continuously seek and improve and analyze. Every day we need to look at what we do and figure out what went right, what went wrong, what we can do better next time. Improve services and way of life for all, because guess what? What are we here to do? Serve the citizens of the town. We need to retain current and attract new business and residents. You know, it's important to go out and do economic development and try to draw in somebody. Hey, come and put your business in Bluff City. But it's just as important to keep what you got so that they don't leave you. And the same thing with the residents. Cost savings mindset, I've already covered that. Department heads and I are headhunting, looking for ways to cut costs. We'll continue to seek relative grant opportunities, public relations and ambassadorship. Everybody, each board member and every member of the staff is an ambassador. I like that song. That's a good song. I started almost dancing. But anyway, we're all an ambassador. When we go out in the public, then guess what? You are Bluff City. You are Bluff City. And we need to continue to think that. Seek and improve local partnerships. Y'all have heard me say I'm really enjoying, we are really enjoying this more intimate relationship with the city of Bristol, our sister city. They are more than willing to help. Their arms are just like this. Mayor Luttrell and Bill Sawyer and the entire staff, they're like, Jeff, anything y'all need, have anybody call me. We'll help you. Kingsport the same way. And Mayor Venable and the commission is the same way as well. And we need to continue to improve that. We need to ask for advice, and I think we all come to that realization. I know I have in 92 days. Man, I just didn't know as much as I thought I did. And I am not one bit afraid, like Deputy Speaker sitting behind me there, to call him and say, sir, may I ask? And we need to continue to do that. Finally, report more frequently. I believe as a board, and if I remain in this position, I intend to report to the citizens and the board more frequently, at least every 90 days or so. And we keep our stakeholders, which is the citizens and our water customers, updated at all times. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my formal brief. I am subject to your questions. Hearing and seeing none, thank you very much. Excuse me, ma'am. Vice Mayor, reassume the chair. Next item on the agenda is a report from our town attorney, the president of the Tennessee Municipal Attorneys Association, Paul Fry.
I have a brief report. We've collected nearly $4,000 in delinquent property taxes this month. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, discussion and action, financial report. Madam Recorder, if you would, please.
Fund balances as September 30th, 2022. General fund, $2,151,535. Sanitation fund, $43,558. Special police fund, $8,400. Debt service fund, $112,388. Sinking fund, $3,094. Water sewer fund, $826,326. Total fund balance, $3,145,301.
Hearing the report or the CMFO's report, is there a motion?
Motion to approve financial.
Motion to approve by Vice Mayor Adams.
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Keith. Madam Recorder, take a vote, please.
Alderwoman Key,
Yes.
Alderwoman Madison, Vice Mayor Adams,
Yes.
Alderwoman Moretz.
Yes.
Alderwoman Venable.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is departmental reports. First up in police and public safety is Chief Greg Depew.
Evening, Mayor, Board, and citizens.
Evening, Chief.
For the month of October, we had 189 calls we answered. We issued 117 citations. We issued 48 warning violations and citations. Patrolled 6,031 miles. Had 5 arrests. Had 21 offense reports. Had 13 alarms. Had 11 accidents. About 3 animal calls and just 28 MSDs. I had 1 DUI and 2 drug arrests. I did attend the first meeting with the DTF, and that went really well. They're honored to have us there and pleased we're there, and we're honored and pleased to be there. And again, I thank the board and everyone involved in that for allowing us to move forward and do that. Things are going good. We're working on our in-service training and getting our training done, doing some firearm stuff, some taser stuff, some things that are required by the state we do. We're doing good there. On the Watson system, as the mayor spoke earlier, Sergeant Watson is heading that up, and I appreciate everything he does. I'm blessed to be surrounded with the people I am that make me be able to do the job I do, and I credit my people that work under me, work with me, to allow me to be able to perform the way we do. So I'm very proud of them. So what I'm going to do is let Sergeant Watson come up, and he's going to give a briefing. He was with Stan today, and just to inform you all of where we're at and how that's going.
Thank you, Chief. Welcome, Sergeant Watson.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, Board. Just give you a quick overview, a little insight of where we stand on the Watson program as we stand. It's a records management system that's used statewide, most notably the Memphis Police Department. So you can see adapting a program that's used by Memphis Police Department, how we can use it here in the city, what a tedious task that could be. So I spent 3.5 hours with Stan. He was the designer of the Watson program this morning. We're ahead of schedule. One of the biggest hurdles that we were looking at was the approval from the FBI. That's supposed to take 6 to 8 months. We've already got that. So we're ahead of schedule on that. I have some training to do. I have a lot of data entry to do to customize that for the town. But what we're shooting for is try to get this adapted and in the officer's hands as quick as possible so the city can start getting a turnaround on it. Thanks.
Thanks for your excellent work, Sergeant Watson. Next is a report from our Public Works Supervisor, Ellen Moultrie.
Good evening, Mayor, Board.
Evening, sir.
In the Water and Sewer Department is working great as of right now. We didn't have any overflows or anything in the month of October. In the Water Department, we averaged 47 feet in our tank, with 55 feet being the highest that we were all month long. We ended up conducting 2 backwash. Plant was only down once during this month, and that was during the time of doing the backwash. When it comes down to the street department, the guys have been working diligently trying to pick up leaves all around town, and that has been a success since we got our leaf sucker and all of that back operating. We did end up repairing 1 leak, which was on Smith Street, and we ended up finding a lead pigtail. So there are some old sections within the town that needs to be addressed. We were under the assumption that most lead parts have been removed from the system, but we just recently found one. And that's not to say that there aren't others out there. But with that being said, that will conclude my report. If you all have any questions on anything or any concerns, please feel free to ask me.
Keep up the good work, man.
Well, I do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, you are, Alan.
All right. Next on the agenda, Madam Recorder, do you have any report from Finance and Administration? Okay, thank you very much. Looking out, I do not see a representative from the Sullivan County Commission, so we'll move on. Next are the Board of Mayor and Alderman comments. Carol, would you mind to start, please?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Before he leaves, I want to thank my good friend, Senator Lombard. It's always a blessing to see you. I thank each and every one of you guys. But I must confess, my heart is really heavy. I pray to God that I will never endure another meeting like I did last week. It was very painful. But at the same time, I want you all to know that I will continue to stand up, and speak out for what is right. And I want to thank my supporters. I want to thank all the private messages that I got. So, Bluff City, we haven't finished yet. I will continue to stand up for what is right. God bless you.
Thanks, Carol. Vice Mayor?
I have no comments this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Heather?
I just want to thank everyone for coming, and I hope you guys have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Heather. Julie?
I want to thank everybody for coming, and like Carol, I want to apologize for the way the last meeting went. It got a little excited and a little heated. Some things were said that shouldn't have been said, and I think Carolyn Payne, for the most part, she is not treated like a citizen. Yes, she's outspoken, but I thought that's what we want. People to tell us how they feel and tell us their thoughts. And every time she comes to the podium, you always, Mayor, remind her how many minutes she has. You don't do that to anybody else. I don't think that shows professionalism. And I still want to discuss about getting a city manager, even just for part-time. I've talked to a few people, and believe it or not, some people have talked about doing it for free.
Yeah.
Because I guess they're retired and they're bored and they want something to do or whatever, and they love the city that they're living in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. We'll move on now to old business. Is there any old business the board would like to discuss?
Old business? Well, I think Julie just said we want to move forward with the city manager. And when you had stated something about the funds, that we didn't have the money, is that correct?
We would go into our reserve.
Okay, we can do that because we had no problem. If you do the research, we had no problem going into reserves for, what was it, $36,378 at one time. I mean, I can go back and back where you do the amendment on the budget to do that. When we got the storage building, we didn't have the money. We did an amendment. So we've got the money to do it. And not only that, the people voted me on this board. Nobody on here voted me on this board, the people. And they have spoken to me. They have spoken out. They want a city manager. And we voted on it, and it was passed. So it's going to happen.
That's no longer old business. You've already passed
Well, I wanted to make sure you knew
you've
that.
already passed it.
Yes, we have. So I just said, all right, Mr. Fry, what is the procedure? Because there have been 3 or 4 people that has talked about that. Is there a procedure?
Well, we need to get MTAS to come in and brief us like I have suggested.
Well, I understand where you come in with MTest. I've been down that road. And, you know, I got stressed out last week, and I'm not going to get stressed. I mean, I've lost friendships for 25 years because of this. I'm not going to get stressed out. We don't have to have MTest to do it. We can listen to their advice. We can take their advice. Just like, you know, when you advise us, we could take it.
Sure.
But, and if it takes me going to MTest personally, I'll do it. If it takes me to go to Senator Longboard, I will do it. Because we're moving forward. And, I mean, don't play with me. We're moving forward. It's been passed. We can have a city manager.
Carol, just an update from about, 5 o'clock today or so. So Sharon was able to contact the NPAS, and Travis, and I forget the gentleman's last name, will be coming up to meet with all of us sometime in November.
Great.
I
I appreciate what you're saying. I don't have to flaunt who I know and who I don't know, but I've been down that road, so I know people too. Okay.
Well, personally, I would like to hear from MTAS on this because I didn't hear it a year ago. So I'd like to hear what they have to say
Well, they need to
before
give us
making
a
a
class.
decision. I mean, the board voted for a city manager, but we had a 2.5-hour meeting where I still was not able to get the questions answered that I would like to have had answered to make a decision on this. Was interrupted somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 times in trying to find those answers. So it was a bad meeting last meeting.
It was a very bad meeting.
But a lot of it was due to where we weren't letting other people talk and hear answers. Again, 25 times in the course of trying to get to the bottom of this, and it was never really discussed. It was predetermined, and that's not how we can operate.
No,
we're representing these citizens. So voting to have a city manager and not having any kind of a plan, not knowing how we're going to pay for it, just doing it by hook or crook, isn't representing our citizens in the right way. And I'm not going to ignore people who know more about this than I do coming in and advising us. It's free. I'm going to hear them out. I want to hear that information so I can make the best decision for our citizens. If we can afford to, I would love to sever those positions. Like that, it should have never been put in that way where we have a mayor and a city manager that's unpaid. So yeah, I'd like to correct that problem. But what I'm not going to do is raise property taxes in order to get it. I'm not going to raise water and sewer to pay for a city manager. And I'm definitely not going to vote for removing employees to make room for that position. I'm not going to do any of those things for that purpose. Because right now we have a city manager that does not take a paycheck. And if our budget does allow for it, then I'm all for it. But as of right now, with the information that I have, those are the only 3 ways that we can get there. And I've asked Sharon, and that's all we can do.
Well, I understand. If you're finished, I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, I appreciate
understand what you're saying, Mr. Ben, but at the same time, I think it was miscommunication. We wasn't asking to hire one that night. We were wanting to vote to be able to hire one in the future.
That's in our charter to do that. And there was a young lady here ready to step in the
No,
position.
she wasn't. No,
She
she's
came up
seen
and
Jeff's
offered.
post. She had seen Jeff's post. But listen, I see where this is going. I'm not going back down that road. I mean, like I said, this has hit hard. So, you do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do.
What I got to do is be informed about this decision.
Right.
And that's what I would like to do.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I've been here, 3 years, and I've gone through some stuff here. And I'm not down here to play. I'm not down here to play somebody here just because I like them or don't like them. I am, regardless of what you think, which I don't really care, I am here for the people. That is the only reason why I'm here, is for the people.
Now, may I remind
So
you
I'm
both
not
that
gonna
the
get-
subject is old business.
It's old business, and if you guys
And
are going
this
to
is
sit
not
here
old
and want to argue, I will politely excuse myself.
The subject
Because
is
I am
old
not down here to
business,
play.
and this is not old business. You've already voted on this.
Can I speak a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, to all of you.
I'm just done.
Carol, would you please listen? Travis Bishop, okay, is with MTASC. He is one of the that was our auditor, okay, in the past. You'll know him.
I remember, I remember.
Okay. He said any time in the month of November, he's pretty well open. You all just need to let him know when you want him to come.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And he told me that today. Right. Just let him know.
Thank you,
all
Sharon.
will decide.
And I see now, and I'm going to have to reach out and start contacting people myself. Okay. Thank you, Sharon, though.
All right, moving on from old business. Is there any new business?
Why don't we make a date for that gentleman to come? Now.
We're not sure of his schedule. We thought that you might give us a date that you could all get together. And Sharon, I'm not communicating with Mr. Bishop. Sharon is. And we could line you up. But I don't know that we could decide that right this second.
Well, what about the next regular meeting?
The gentleman said he could come up in November.
Yeah.
What about our workshop in November?
If you all want to set up a meeting, all we have to do is call him back.
Yeah.
And he's up for a workshop. Come in on a workshop anytime this month.
Would you agree with that?
A day?
Hey, whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah. So, if there is a consensus, that was already on that, and the charter was already on our workshop agenda for November, last week of November. If there is a consensus, then we will tentatively schedule a date with Mr. Bishop to be here on that last Tuesday in November
and
for a
will
workshop.
you be doing a class, Sharon?
Yes.
It's
A complete class?
A presentation, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
class, yeah.
Okay, I do want the
But
class.
anytime,
Because we all need to be
have that
educated.
workshop before the end
Okay.
then we'll be glad to come anytime. You all come up with a date.
Very good. Is there any other new business? Going once? Hearing none, this meeting is hereby adjourned.